Hi gang, Rob here. It is the afternoon of 21 September 2020. Coming to you today with a little bit of a motorcycle riding review of East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, and North Georgia. Most of you know who follow the channel closely that a week ago today, my friend Peter and I returned from a motorcycle trip. We traveled one day on the front and one day on the back and rode for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday a week ago. I guess the centerpiece of our trip was to ride the tail of the dragon near Robbinsville, North Carolina on US Highway 129. The bottom part of the tail is in North Carolina, and then most of it, like 80% of it, is actually in Tennessee. So we did that on Friday, along with some other riding in the area, but that was kind of the centerpiece of Friday. And then Friday afternoon, we went back to home base, which is in Ocoee, Tennessee, via the Chairahala Skyway. Then on Saturday, we rode into North Georgia on Highway 60. Went to Two Wheels of Suches, which is an awesome campground and motorcycle resort in Suches, Georgia, and then jumped on the Wolf Pen Gap Road, a great piece of riding known as Wolf Pen Gap. And then from there went to Blood Mountain and got to see sort of the southernmost outfitter on the Appalachian Trail, which was really cool. Saw boots hanging in trees, and then came back up 60 back into Tennessee and home. And by the way, if you're in that area, there is a town called Blue Ridge, and I believe it's in Georgia. But it was sort of a dying small town that's been gentrified. They've got a great retail district in the downtown area with shops and restaurants, and then a train runs right through the middle of town. There's an old train station that's been refurbished, and a train does run from there, and it does a great tour of small towns and attractions in the area. We did not ride the train, but we did eat lunch in Blue Ridge. Then on Sunday, we had to do a reprise, sort of. We got into a pretty big rainstorm on Friday on the Chairahala, and we wanted to do it again. So Sunday morning, we lit out for the Chairahala Skyway again. Didn't have rain, but the top of the Skyway is just about a mile high. There will be a picture of me kind of sitting with a despondent look underneath the sign that I think gives the elevation. If not, it was 5,240 feet. But so we went up the Skyway in the sunshine, and then at the top, from like 3,500 feet on up, we were in a very heavily laden cloud. I wouldn't say it was raining at the top of the Skyway, but it was a very dense fog and a heavy mist. I was riding the ST 1100 with a 2.5-inch oversized windshield. My buddy Peter was on a 90 VFR 750 with just a sports screen, and he doesn't see well. Combined with fog and mist, it was a little dicey for Peter, but he did okay. I did have to lead us sort of down from the top of that Skyway, and then once we got below 3,500 feet, it was sunshine all the way down. So I wanted to spend a little time characterizing for you guys some of that riding. So I'll start with the tail of the dragon. So most of you guys who ride, and especially have friends who ride, have at least heard of the tail of the dragon. It is 11 miles in length on a very hairy section of US Highway 129. Over those 11 miles, you are either climbing or descending a pretty doggone tall mountain. There are lots of switchbacks, lots of sweepers. In that 11 miles, there are 318 turns. 318 turns. So basically 29 turns per mile. Just let that sink in. The speed limit on the Dragon has been reduced in recent years to 30. We didn't ride 30. I will say that. There's been a lot of videos and forum talk over the last few years that the tail of the Dragon is overrated. I'm here to tell you, it ain't overrated. It is a destination piece of road for many motorcyclists with many flavors of motorcycles. There are sport bike and sport tourer guys who kind of ride it like Peter and I did as a test of rider skill. And then there are people who ride, Harleys and other kinds of cruisers that, bring their wives or girlfriends just for a scenic ride. That's maybe not the best place for a scenic ride, just because you're completely harassed by guys wanting to go fast. In my part of the world in Northeast Indiana, this road is like nothing I ever get to ride here. And so consequently, I'm not trained for riding it. So it was a little daunting to me, I got to tell you. The elevation changes coupled with the tightness and complexity of the turns, some off camber, outside turns. This combination frankly scared me a little. I was a little concerned how I was going to do. Peter, who's been to the Dragon several times and who is and sort of a club level vintage motorcycle racer, he gave me some good advice. Number one, ride within your skill level. And two, check your ego at the bottom of the mountain. And I thought I had prepared myself to follow those instructions. But I have to tell you, once we started climbing that first hill, I couldn't let Peter go. I pushed myself. I found skills and sets of skills that I knew mentally, but didn't know for sure I could execute. I rode well the first time up, and it was on a Friday early afternoon. Traffic was starting to get pretty heavy, but we were blessed with a completely clean run. Nobody in front of us and nobody pushing from behind. One thing I was kind of worried about was that I was going to be mentally fatigued and ready to bail on the Dragon, which is difficult because there is nowhere to turn off. There are no driveways. There are no cross streets. Then there are what are termed pull-offs, basically extra asphalt laid down so slower traffic can move over and let faster traffic by. But I found, as I said, I found skill I didn't know I had. And the other thing was that I was so proud of that motorcycle. A 25-year-old ST1100 that had more capability in one of the most technically difficult pieces of road in the country than I had to ride it. The motorcycle was much more capable than I was. It never breathed hard. I did find the curb feelers on my pegs, but no mechanical failures, no point at which I thought, man, this thing ran out of suspension. It was wonderful. So we went up and we came down. On the way down, we did run into some traffic and had to pull over and let a gap happen so we could get back on our horses, so to speak. I want to kind of characterize this place for you. At the bottom of the mountain, there are two retail establishments. There's Deal's Gap that has a small motel, gas pumps, general store, and a restaurant, kind of a diner type restaurant. Across the street, there's Killboy's Tail of a Dragon, which is kind of the same, but without a motel and not as quite as nice a general store. And I think you can just get drinks and snacks there. A lot of people want to know about emergency vehicles and police on the Dragon. We did notice a fire and rescue pickup truck up at the overlook at the top of the Dragon on our first run. They actually got deployed. There was an accident they had to go to. And we did see police, but not on the Dragon, in the parking lot at Deal's Gap. And guys, I'm here to tell you, if you follow some basic rules of Dragon decorum, the police are not there to harass you. They know what goes on. They know that motorcycles flock there by the thousands every week. They know that we stay overnight, eat in restaurants, spend money. So they're not there to enforce speed limits, but they are there to give reprimands and instruction for violations of basic safety decorum. The two most important of which are: do not cross the double yellow line. Stay in your lane. There are blind curves around sections of that mountain where you can't see what is going to be coming toward you in the oncoming lane. Don't ever feel like, to make proper apexes and to attack turns properly, that you get to use both lanes. It will kill you. That's one. Number two is don't pass unsafely. And by unsafely, I mean certainly do not use the oncoming lane to make a pass, and don't pass vehicles that are in your own lane unless they have pulled over into one of the pull-offs. So those are the two things I think the police are there to remind us. But basically, guys, it's the Isle of Man in North Carolina and Tennessee. It's a section of public road that every day gets used as a test track / racetrack. Speed limits are a guide. They're a guide, and the marked speeds in the turns are a guide, and you learn really quickly what your skill level and what the capability of your motorcycle will let you do versus the posted number. And the signage is very helpful. But basically, I don't know how many hundreds of bikes every day use that piece of road to find out how good they are. That's just how it is. It's pretty cool. It reminds me of a day gone by in my hometown of Fort Wayne, where we had a section of a city street that was kind of a police sanctioned or a police overlooked drag race, drag strip. I didn't know such places existed anymore, but the Tail of Dragon is such a place. So I ended up running real well. I didn't have any mishaps. I found out I was maybe a little better motorcyclist than I knew I was. And it occurred to me on the way home that I did things on that motorcycle that I don't know how to do. So even though I was probably breaking laws written by men that are duly part of our society, my loving Father in heaven gave me what I needed to come home safely to my family. So I'm mildly convicted by the sin of lawlessness on the road, but really, really grateful that He gave me what I needed. So let's see, where else were we? The Wolf Pen was awesome. Another section of 2-lane twisty highway, this one in North Georgia. You got to be a little more careful on the pen because there are some houses and crossroads in the flatter sections. But there are some turns in the Wolf Pen marked 10 and 15 miles an hour that are at least as technical as anything on the Dragon. And I think they sneak up on you more because most of it isn't as technical as the Dragon. Not this year, but last year when Peter was there, he just about bought it on on the 10 mile an hour hairpin on the Wolf Pen. So that's worth doing. Blood Mountain is worth doing. But probably my biggest surprise of the trip was the Chairahala Skyway. Again, once you get going up the mountain, you kind of lose crossroads and houses, but the Skyway is much less tight than the Dragon or even the Wolf Pen. Lots of high-speed sweepers. Some triple-digit speeds can be achieved on long straightaways between the sweepers, and you can, even on some of the sweepers, you can bump up against 100 miles an hour. So although it's less technical and less tight than the Tail of the Dragon, the Skyway has its own quality of white knuckle riding that I really appreciated. It was an awesome piece of road. I think it's about 20 miles long, at least 20 miles of that area where you can actually go. So yes, the Tail of the Dragon is the centerpiece of motorcycle riding in that area. But there are lots of other sections of road that are equally cool and equally demanding. Oh, you know, one place I forgot to tell you about was when you leave the bottom of the Dragon, there's a road. If you're heading back toward Robbinsville, just as you leave Deal's Gap, there's a road that you can take to your left that takes you to Fontana Dam, which is a hydroelectric dam and a reservoir. But the road to get there is super cool. You got to be a little more careful on that one because there are some things going on. You're in a park and there are some houses and crossroads. But another place you can ride spiritedly. If you're going to do a trip like that, I think there are two really economical and centrally located places to stay. There's a very cool little convenience store, car wash, and motel in Ducktown, and I think it's just called the Ocoee Inn. That's actually closer to the action than the place we stayed. I needed to make sure I had Wi-Fi for the knife sale that was dependable. So we stayed in a really newly remodeled Quality Inn in Ocoee, Tennessee, which essentially is an interchange with some restaurants, a gas station, and a motel, and some houses scattered about. It's about, 15 miles east of Cleveland, Tennessee. That is a really nice little Quality Inn, guys, that you can get 2 queens for under $90 a night, so I would recommend it. It's about a 2-hour and 15-minute trip to the Dragon from there, but you can take the Skyway, so a ride worth doing. And that's where we jumped off every morning. So I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions about riding in that area or where to stay and what to see, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to answer as best I can, but it will not be the last time I go to that part of the world. Not only are we thinking another ride in October of this year, but it'll be at least an annual pilgrimage for me. And because of your feedback on my Where Should We Move video, it looks like that Cleveland, Tennessee area might be it. And after having been there for 3 days firsthand, looks pretty good. We did meet a pretty interesting guy as we were getting on the Skyway Sunday morning at a gas station in Tellico Plains. And he's a lifelong resident of the area. He lives off the Skyway, Vietnam vet, and he gave us a lot of history of the area, kind of chuckling to himself and to us about life in the pandemic age. His point was, we're already distant because of where we live. We're separated by geography. And he also had some things to say about the civil unrest in our country. You know, basically he made the point, we live where we live for a reason, that it does not affect us. So his historical account of life in East Tennessee and Western North Carolina was pretty interesting to me. that's a culture I'd like to blend into. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I hope it was helpful to some of you who are looking for a great place to ride. And by the way, we were a lot of places in that part of the world, eating, shopping, getting gas, staying in motels. We saw a few masks, but mostly the pandemic isn't about them. Not much going on there. So that was refreshing. I think that's it for this one. Thank you for your prayers once again for our safety. They worked. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember, the word is sharp. And by the way, 72 degrees and bright sunshine, September 21st in Northeast Indiana. It's a beautiful day. Talk to you soon.